for an answer.
Okay. Good morning, class. Today we'll be going through revision of second unit, and in the revision of third unit, I suppose I have not said about triggers. Okay. After nested functions, we have done with aggregation functions. Okay. And two concepts we have not revised, that is complex integrity constraints and triggers, that I'll do in mostly Monday's class. Okay, those two topics, revision from third unit, I'll do in Monday's class. For today, we'll start with your second unit. Okay, so your second unit is nothing but it is introduction to relational model. Okay, now in that first topic is nothing but integrity constraints. Okay, then after that you'll be having even this what is primary constraints. Okay, then after that foreign keys differential integrity. Okay, and we'll see how you're creating a particular syntax. Okay? You're creating a particular syntax from this table. Okay, so we'll start with this. Now, what do you mean by integrity constraints? Are nothing but these are constraints over table. Integrity constraints are basically nothing but these are constraints over tables. Okay, and these integrity constraints we have already like we'll be seeing in again in first unit also. Okay, so what is basically an integrity constraint is it specifies a condition. Okay, basically or whenever we say integrity, we'll keep it later. Now let us see first is what is constraint. Okay, a constraint is nothing but a condition, because constraint is nothing but giving some constraint is nothing but giving some condition on some part of the table or on the whole table. Okay, now what do you mean by integrity constraint is it is a kind, this integrity constraint is a kind of condition, okay, that's specified on the database schema and restricts the data that can be stored in an instance of database. Okay, now what does this mean is this integrity constraints is nothing but it's a type of condition, okay, which can be specified directly on the structure of the database. Okay, or it can also structure of the database, and it also restricts what type of data to be inserted in that table. Okay, now we have seen default, right? Default, null, not null. What are these? These where do we specify? These we specify when we are creating the structure. That is nothing but when we are defining that particular table or that particular relation. That's what integrity constraints is nothing but. It's a type of constraint or it's a type of condition specified on the database schema. Okay, and it restricts the data that can be stored in the instance of the schema. That is nothing but when you're storing the particular records. Okay, it performs constraints on them. It doesn't allow the record to store whatever it wants. Next, the first we'll see primary constraint. Now, basically, what do you mean by primary constraint is? Or let us go through first what is the key constraint. Then we'll go to the what is a key constraint. Then we'll go to the primary constraint. Okay, the key constraint is nothing but it is said that key constraint it usually uniquely identifies, okay, identifies each tuple in a relation. Okay, so what do you mean by that is basically suppose let me give you an example. Okay, example where you can identify a student name by using its roll number. Okay, now what if I am giving a table of a student where you have roll number, name, address and all, then what will become the roll number? Then roll number is a primary key. Okay, now that is nothing but a key constraint. Then what do you mean by primary key? Basically, among n number of keys available in a particular table or in a particular relation, primary key is the one which is having unique values or unique instances or unique tuples in it. Okay, and the primary key is the only one available in the table. Okay, now what is the now we have seen what is primary key. What is basically primary key? A primary key is nothing but a key which is having all distinct values in it. Basically, a primary key is nothing but which is having all distinct value in it. There is no repeated value and there is no null value for primary key. That is the condition of a primary key. So it's the same thing for primary constraint. Whenever you give a primary constraint to any column, okay, then if you give a primary key constraint for any column, then no distinct tuples, no two tuples. Okay, no two tuples should have same values. Yes, because primary key is every time distinct. There is no repeated value in it. After that, it should also not be a null value, because primary key doesn't entertain any null value. Okay, in a table you can have more than one primary key. Okay, then it is either called as candidate key or super key. Okay, now suppose if I say SID is a primary key. Okay, SID column is a primary key, then SID comma GPA is super key. In last class for normalization also I have explained here, anything with primary key is called as super key. Next, foreign key. Now we have set primary key, then what is a foreign key basically? We'll go through an example. Okay, we'll go through an example. Here you have enroll table, you have student table. Okay, in enroll table you have student ID, course ID and the grade of that particular student for this course, and you have student table which has taken the SID. Okay, sorry, student table is having an SID actually. Okay, it's a student table. We are creating a enroll table with help of student table. So student table is having SID, name, login, age, GPA. Okay, this is your base table. Okay, and you are creating a table which is taking SID value from the student table. Okay, it is taking SID value from the student table. Okay, and you have course ID and grade for that particular student ID. Okay, now here what is the foreign key? Foreign key is nothing but the SID here in enroll table is foreign key. Why? Because it is referring to the SID of students table. Okay, here you can see this. Now how are we creating syntax for this? First, what we do is create table. Whenever you create a table, create table name, that is enrolled. And what are the parameters in enroll table? Okay, you have three parameters. One is SID, okay, character 20, then CID, character 20, then grade, character 2. Okay, and your primary key, okay, first we'll declare the primary key, okay, and then we'll see the of foreign key. Okay, so what is primary key in enroll table? You can have SID and CID, right? Okay, SID and CID. And what is why is that? Because both together, why are we taking is you have students, okay, you have students SIDs, which is repeated here, 53666, 53666, 53666. Here you have different CIDs, okay. Same students has enrolled in 3 different subjects or courses, okay. So SID is repeated, okay. Same like that, even your CID will be repeated. CID will be repeated because what happens here, but SID is repeated thrice. Same like that, CID will be repeated because there won't be one student in one class, right? You will be having n number of students in one class. So suppose again here 53650 as enrolled again for this history 105. Okay, he has enrolled for topology. Again, suppose 53650 has enrolled for history 105. Okay, so your SID and CID is repeating. So if you combine SID and CID both together, then it becomes a primary key for your enrolled table. Okay, so after that, now what is foreign key here? We have made it primary key. Now we have to convert in foreign key. Your SID is foreign key. Why? Because it is referencing to SID of students table. Okay. This is nothing but foreign key and referential integrity constants. What do you mean by referential integrity constants? This SID is referring to the parent or the base table of students. Okay. And you cannot delete the parent SID until unless the child tuples are deleted with child tuples are related to this SID. Okay, that is reflection integrity constraints. Okay, then you have your general constraints. That is nothing but constraints on some tables. You have domain constraints. Now what do you mean by basically domains is the values of particular columns. Okay, any domain is nothing but the values of that particular column. So what do you mean by domain constraints is nothing but constraint of giving input to that particular column. Suppose let me take domain constraint has this, you have a name, or let me take you have a roll number. Okay, in that roll number you have even alphabets with numbers. Okay, now what is domain constraint there? You have to have both alphabets and numbers. Now suppose few universities instead of numbers they are using only alphabets. Okay, they are using only alphabets to insert. So what happens now? The domain constraint is that you can insert only alphabets to the SID. Okay, then you have some column constraints and user defined integrity constraints. This is not required now. Column constraint, domain constraint, okay, and constraint table. Okay, now enforcing referential integrity constraint. Okay, we'll see an example based on that. We'll see. Okay, now referential integrity constraint is that, now suppose you have two tables we have seen where you have an enrolled table. Okay, here above we had an enrolled table. Okay, sorry, you have an enrolled table where you have an SID which is referencing to the base table SID of student. Okay, so this is now your foreign key in your enrolled table. Now how do you enforce the referential integrity here? Because enrolled table is nothing but referencing, okay, to base table. Now how do you perform this referential integrity constraints? Okay, whenever there is a connection between two tables. Okay, now suppose let us see this example. Create table enrolled where SID is character 20, CID is character 20, grade is character 20. You have primary key, both SID and CID in enrolled table because both are repeated. Okay, then you have foreign key SID references students, references students of SID. Okay, references students of SID. This is general foreign key which we are applying. Now on that They are saying on delete cascade. On delete cascade. Okay. Now, basically, whenever we say on delete cascade is nothing but, suppose here I've said you an example that suppose if you are deleting 53666, will it be deleted from the base table because related tuples are already available in enrolled? No, it won't delete. Why? Because it is still been referencing from this enrolled table. There are also tuples available here. So what we are doing here, we are giving a constraint on delete cascade. Now whenever you give on delete cascade, if you want to delete that particular tuple, if you want to delete this particular tuple, that is nothing but SID 3666. Once you delete this, its related information in the child class, okay, that is in the enrolled table, will also get deleted. That is nothing but called as on delete cascade. Okay, then you have on update set default. Okay, now what does this on update set default or set null means? It sets foreign key value of referencing table. Okay, now set default is nothing but you are setting some normal value. Suppose default by in your table you have inserted some data, and whenever you have said set default, it will be set to null. By default it is set to null. Okay, that is any data you update, the value of that data will set to null by default. Okay, now instead of this on delete cascade, you can also write it as on delete no action. Okay, that is nothing but if I write on delete cascades, then all the related data in the child class also will be get deleted. But if I write on delete, if I write here instead of cascade no action, then what's happened? Whatever you try to delete in the base table, if it has a reference in a tuple referenced in child table, then if you try to delete it also, that particular SQL query will be rejected. Okay, that is called as referential integrity constraint in SQL. Okay, now before going to in detail with mathematics part, that is nothing but relational algebra part of your second unit, we'll just go through few SQL queries which we were seeing in third unit. Okay, now suppose select star from students where select star from students S, where S dot age, okay, where S dot age is equal to 18. Okay, now what happens here? What happens here? Here output will be basically all the columns of that particular tables of student S. Okay, now that is student S with constraint where age is 18. We have this table here. Okay, so what happens? You will be having SID, name, login, age and GPA displayed, okay, of the students whose age is 18. Okay, now suppose they have given next condition to us that suppose to find just names and logins, replace the first line. Okay, they want us to replace the first line with this. So what output you'll get? Instead of star, instead of select star, I want to write select S dot S name, S dot login. So what you'll get has in output, you'll get only name column and login column in output. Okay, that is nothing but Jones at the rate CS, Smith at the rate double E, sorry. Okay, now we are I've explained your sailors, reserves, boats, how three of them we are working together. So there are few examples on that also again. Okay, that is nothing but querying multiple relations, okay, or querying with help of multiple tables. Okay, now suppose you have student table, you have enrolled table. Okay, both tables you have. Select, they have given here select S dot name E dot CID. Okay, That means the name from the student table and course ID from the enrolled table must be displayed. Okay, from student S and enrolled E. Okay, where S dot SID is equal to E dot SID and E dot grade equal to A. Okay, so what happens here? What is the condition? Condition they are saying is, first one is S dot SID, okay, is equal to E dot SID and E dot grade is equal to A. Now, what is E dot grade here? A, which one is it? It is 53650. Okay, at E dot grade, you have, okay, so sorry. So basically, what it does is it first compares. So, which are the values same here? You don't have 53831. You don't have 53831. That is not matching. Then, do you have 53650? Yeah, you have here 53650. Then 53666, yes, you have 53666. So this last two rows will get selected. After that, once the last two rows get selected, and here first and this last row getting selected, then what happens? On that we give a constraint that E dot grade is equal to A. Okay, E dot grade is equal to A. Now E dot grade is equal to A. What is SID of it? 53650. So in this two, is there 53650? Yes. So that particular student's name and that CID is displayed. That is nothing but Smith and topology 112. Okay, this will speak in first unit. Okay, after that we'll speak about relational algebra and relational calculus. Your second unit mainly revolves around relational algebra and relational calculus. Okay, now relational algebra, okay, these basically these both are nothing but mathematical query languages. Okay, these query languages we use in math, these query languages are basically in mathematical form. Okay, now what is relational algebra first, then what is relational calculus? We already know that relational algebra is nothing but mathematical form. Okay, then first thing comes into mind, what is actually a relational algebra? We are saying relational algebra, relational calculus. Okay, so before saying what is relational algebra, first let us know what is relational query language. Okay, we have said that relational query language is nothing but it's basically having two mathematical query languages. Okay, and from these two mathematical query languages, the SQL was evolved. After that SQL, you have now many other PSQL, MySQL, okay, MongoDB, and many things else. So first we'll see what is relational query language. Okay, now this relational query language is mathematical form, and this language is of two types. Okay, one is procedural language and other one is non-procedural language. Okay, now what do you mean by procedural language? Whenever we say procedural language, it basically means that, or it specifies that how and what data is to be retrieved. Okay, whenever we say procedural language, we are saying that relational query language is of two types. One is procedural and one is non-procedural. Okay, and these are nothing but, these two languages are nothing but is used, it is used to represent the result of the data. Okay, or it is used to represent, or these are nothing but the expressions which are used to represent the results. Okay, that is basically. So what do you mean by procedural language? Relational query language are two types, procedure and non-procedure. If you say procedural language, it specifies how and what data is to be retrieved. Okay, how and what data is to retrieve. That is nothing but say it is speaking about how the data should be retrieved. It will give you the query, how the data should be retrieved and what data should be retrieved. Whereas non-procedural language, it specifies what data to be retrieved. Okay, so procedural example is relational algebra, because it will specify, or this language allows the user to specify what data is needed and actually how this particular how can you retrieve those data which you want. Okay, so that is nothing but how and what. Whereas non-procedural, it basically speaks, okay, it basically allows the user to specify what data is needed rather than how to retrieve the data. Okay, so that is the basic difference between relational algebra and relational calculus. Okay, so let us once again go through what is relational algebra. It is basic of procedural languages, and all the queries in relational algebra is composed using a collection of operations, and each query describes a step by step procedure of how to get the data and what data to be get to be retrieved. Okay, so after that we'll be having operators in relational algebra. Okay, so you have few basic operators in relational algebra, that is nothing but selection. Okay, tomorrow with the example we'll do it. Today we'll just go through what are these. Okay, selection. Okay, now basically what selection does is it is used to select the rows. Okay, selection is nothing but it is used to select the rows. Okay, select a particular used to select a particular rows. Okay, that's what this selection, that is sigma or what you call it, I suppose sigma, projection is pi, sigma. This sigma is same like where. Okay, because basically it's saying here it is selecting the rows in the relationship. So that is nothing but we are using where condition whenever you want to, whenever you want to display some particular row, that we use where condition in your SQL query. Okay, now projection is nothing but selecting the columns. Okay, selecting the particular columns, that is nothing but pi in SQL. Okay, so here can you all say me, suppose if I want to select a particular, okay, suppose I'm giving a query, I want you all to display the details of the sailor. Okay, details of the all the details of the sailor who have the rating, okay, less than 8, who has the rating less than 8. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm selecting all the details. Okay, all the details means I'm selecting the rows. I'm selecting the row of the sailor who is having less than 8. Now less than 8 means here you have 7. So I'll select this particular row and display all its details. So this is nothing but called as selection. Now if I want to say that from this particular table instance S2, this S2, I want to display the ratings. I want to display all the ratings in ascending or descending order. Then I will say projection. Okay. Now cross product. Now cross product is nothing but it's basically you can take it as cross product is mostly you can take it as joins. Okay, joins in SQL query speak it as cross product here. Okay, now cross product is nothing but it's basically performing join operation. Okay, or combining two different relations in it of it two different relations, that is nothing but two different tables. Okay, now set difference. in relational algebra, basically if you say set difference, okay, then what we take it as, we try to differentiate the particular tuples from one table to the other table. Whenever we say set difference, we try to differentiate one table from the other table. Next is union. Okay, whenever we perform a union, we take all the common attributes. Okay, if we say union, we take all the common attributes of relation 1 and relation 2. Okay, and after that you have union means you take all the attributes of relation 1 and relation 2, whereas intersection you take only the one which is common for both relation 1 and relation 2, that is table 1 and table 2, what is common, only that you take. Okay, then you have division and rename. Rename is nothing but rename a particular rename operator is basically used for renaming. Okay, it is used to rename the relational algebra expressions. Okay, so basically what happens is suppose you have a big query. Okay, big query which is a part of some other query. So what we can do is, first you write down the whole big query, that is the part, and rename it. Okay, and then you can use the rename suppose you have you can use that rename, we'll see in examples, you can use that rename part in some other query easily. Okay, then next is division operator. Okay, now what do you mean by basically division operator is, that is basically we are using two instances of table A and B. Okay, where I better explain you when we use example, or else you all won't understand. Okay, so these are the basic operations of relational algebra. Okay, so from tomorrow I'll start with all the examples. Okay, I'll write in a notes and see you rather than this. Okay, today we have just gone through the basics, okay, of second unit. What is integrity constraints, foreign constraints, referential constraints, and what are the four of, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basics and few more. Okay, we have just gone through them. Tomorrow in detail with example I'll explain you all. Mostly I try to cover the selection, projection, and if I can I'll complete cross product, because you know cross product is nothing but join. A basic cross product I can explain you, but if we go to join, if we come to join here, okay, I'll explain this starting 5 tomorrow, then this 4 I'll explain after that class. Okay, that will be Monday mostly. So thank you for today.